Good to have you back. In the recent development, Russia leader Vladimir Putin signed a decree to recognize the self-proclaimed DONETSK People's Republic (DPR) and LUHANSK People's Republic (LPR) as independent on February 2022. Consequently, the West collaborated Saturday on February 20th, 2022 to impose a series of sanctions on the country, like freezing of assets of Russia central bank to limit Russia's ability to access its overseas reserves, freeze the assets of individuals and companies through a process called Transatlantic Task Force, etc., etc. However, the SWIFT global payment system was excluded. The question is why? Who loses if Russia SWIFT is cut off? Russia or the West? Meanwhile, I like to say this: the ongoing development is fluid, meaning the sanction might include SWIFT restriction for Russia anytime. Finger crossed. Okay, now stay tuned. Let us examine why the US and European Union have opted not to cut off the Russia SWIFT payment system. Grab a cuppa, of course I mean a cup of tea, and then subscribe. So, what is SWIFT? Yes, and its purpose. Okay, now SWIFT is the global financial artery that allows the smooth and rapid transfer of money across borders. It stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Created in 1973 and based in Belgium, SWIFT links 11,000 banks and institutions in more than 200 countries. Okay, now that's it. I think you want to know what's the best definition of sanction. Stay with me. Okay, sanction is a measure or penalty designed to hurt a country's economy or the finance of individual citizens, such as leading politicians, more so to punish the government of any country who is perceived or regarded as acting aggressively against another country or breaking international law. And because of the recent development in Ukraine, Russia is seen and regarded as an aggressor, and the West perceive and condemn the recent action by Putin as a deliberate attempt to invade Ukraine, though Russia since denied the allegation. Meanwhile, the UK announced a series of sanctions, which includes all major Russian banks to have their assets frozen and be excluded from the UK financial system. Laws to stop major Russian companies and the state from raising finance or borrowing money on UK market. Russia Aeroflot airline will be banned from the UK. Export licenses suspended for dual use items. It can be used for military purposes, etc., etc. EU nation sanctions are as follows: targeting 70% of Russia's banking market and key state-owned firms, including defense firms; targeting the energy sector with an export ban on material Russia uses for oil refineries; banning the sale of aircraft and equipment to Russian airlines. Meanwhile, Germany has put on hold permission for the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. Australia has imposed sanctions on wealthy Russians and over 300 members of the Russian parliament who voted to authorize sending troops into Ukraine. Japan is sanctioning Russia financial institutions and individuals and halting export of goods such as semiconductors. Wow. That's it. You see, the main bone of contention or the cause of controversy here is the exclusion of SWIFT global payment system from this series of sanctions imposed on Russia. The question is, why? Is it that the West can't agree on SWIFT sanction? I mean, they cannot reach a consensus on whether to kick Russia from SWIFT, the international payment communication system, which processes $5 trillion a day. Wow. Well, that is a good question. Stay tuned. Let's find out why. Meanwhile, I carry out some diggings. Okay, now you see, so many things is at stake here, and it does look to me as though it's like a double-edged sword for the West, and both West and Russia will suffer the consequences. Stay with me, let me break it down. You see, according to a report and data among Western countries, the United States and Germany will stand to lose if and when the SWIFT is included in the sanction. Why? Because their banks are the most frequent SWIFT users, with Russia's bank. According to Maria Shagina at the Moscow Center, a think tank, that's what he said. In addition, several EU members are not in support of cutting off Russia vis-a-vis SWIFT, mostly because it means the European creditor will not be able to receive their money from Russia. Let's have a look now. And data, this data you're looking at now, data says, the data from Bank of International Settlement, BIS, shows that European lenders hold the lion's share of nearly $30 billion in foreign banks exposure to Russia. Wow. The question is, would SWIFT sanction affect Russia's economy? Well, the answer is yes. For a while, it will cut off Russia off from most international financial transactions, e.g., profits from oil and gas production, which in all account for more than 40% of the country's revenue. However, not to a large extent. Why? Because Russia has developed an alternative payment system that could expand to banks in foreign countries that have more friendly relation with Moscow. You must hear this. The Bank of England has very limited exposure to Russia. Okay. In another projected possible development, if and when the West kick Russia from SWIFT, it will encourage not only Russia but other nations like India, Italy, Germany, etc. to look for alternative system, and it will affect the US in particular. You see, 97% of SWIFT transaction is carried out using dollars, while the 3% occur in China yuan. And please, this is key, listen to this. You see, the likes of Stellar Lumen, yes, you heard me, and Ripple are better alternative. Using the blockchain concept to remit money across international borders. Stellar Lumen is an open network for moving value international with standard instructions, a more modern and transparent way to make B2B payment like SWIFT, similar to SWIFT, but it's digital, modern, fast, and open to all. Wow. That said, I'm convinced you got the picture, and I hope you find this video very useful. Okay, here comes the best part. Subscribe, like, and comment. Remember, the goal is to generate wealth, build companies, and then create jobs. Bye now. See you soon.